Hi everyone, welcome to a new session of the HPP Innovation Week. Today, I would like to present you the benefits that HPP can provide to different alcoholic beverages. My name is Mario Gonzalez, and I work in the HPP Food Applications Department at Hyperbaric. As you may know, our main role in the department is to assist any user of the HPP technology to develop new products and to place these new products in the market to offer consumers a more healthy alternative. Of course, at Hyperbaric, we always recommend moderate alcohol consumption. So, I would like to start showing the benefits that HPP technology can offer to this type of beverages. HPP is a non-thermal method currently used to inactivate microorganisms and ensure food safety and extend the shelf life of food products. As you know, this is related to two different mechanisms. On one side, molecular covalent bonds remain intact. This means that food products retain the quality attributes. Aroma compounds, color compounds, and some functional compounds are stabilized mainly with covalent bonds. Since HPP is not able to break those bonds, the molecules remain intact and products retain the quality attributes. On the other hand, weak molecular interactions present in macromolecules are disrupted. This has two implications in this particular application. Of course, microorganisms are inactivated because we disrupt the proteins within the cell membranes and so on. But we can also modify some of the macromolecules to accelerate aging and maceration of some products, as I will discuss later on. Regarding microbial control and quality retention, well, we have to make this distinction between high alcohol and low alcoholic beverages. For the first type, alcohol content is very high, and the making process of this type of product typically prevent microbial spoilage. So I will focus my presentation on low alcoholic beverages such as wine and beer, because these products require stabilization steps to inactivate spoilage microorganisms and pathogens such as some bacteria, molds, or yeasts. Traditionally, heat pasteurization is used for some products such as beer, and for other products more sensitive to heat, such as wine, chemical additives are added to the product. Pasteurization causes quality loss, of course, because we heat as we heat a product, we modify the chemical composition of it, and we develop new compounds that provide some flavor changes. And chemical additives on the other side, well, people is nowadays more concerned with them. In the particular case of sulfates that are added to wine, they cause allergy to some consumers. So HPP emerges as a non-thermal alternative to preserve these quality attributes and to develop products with a clean label. Here we have some examples on wine, how HPP is efficient controlling different types of microbes on wine. Brettanomyces is a yeast typically found on this product. And you can see that standard HPP conditions can actually achieve more than a 6-log reduction of yeasts on wine. Saccharomyces is also inactivated. But also some bacteria such as Lactobacillus plantarum or Acetobacter species typically spoil wine products. Again, HPP is efficient in activating this type of bacteria. We find something similar for beer. Here you can see how yeasts and lactic acid bacteria can be controlled with HPP. you can see actually that we can achieve high log reductions, higher than 5 log in all cases. And yeah, same for total aerobic bacteria, which are used as an indicator of quality. So HPP is efficient in activating bacteria and creating stable products. At the end of this presentation, I will show you some slides with a case study that we conducted at Hyperbaric with craft beer, and you will see results on a commercial scale. Regarding quality, again, this is an example on wine. You can see this graph with different indicators of quality. The gray bars represent unprocessed wine, and the blue bars represent HPP wine. Actually, HPP conditions were very intense, more than 6,000 bar for 15 minutes. And you can see that even with these intense conditions, the quality attributes of wine didn't change compared to the unprocessed controls. Here you can see they evaluated the color, aroma, bitter taste, many different attributes. Regarding quality of beer, here I try to summarize some research that is published in the scientific literature for different types of beer. You can see, for instance, for pale lager beer, that the HPP did not induce changes in color, foam stability, or aromatic compounds. And there was a slight increase in haziness. This is something that HPP may induce due to the denaturalization of proteins and the interaction of these proteins with polyphenols. So yeah, this is reported also in the literature. Pale ale beer, for instance, again was stable in color and permanent haze. In this case, this particular type of beer had a more stable haze, and no changes were reported on chemical composition. And similar results are found for lager beer, okay, with no changes in these attributes, and also higher foam stability in HPP beer. As I mentioned, to create a clean label product, the wine industry is trying to find alternatives to remove sulfate. And there is not much research in this regard, but here you can see at least one study I could find in which they tried to replace some of the sulfate in wine. Red wine, as you can see on the left, and white wine on the right side. And yeah, so the blue bars represent standard wine with a standard amount of sulfite, and the light blue bars show the data for a reduced amount of sulfate plus glutathione, which is an antioxidant, but a clean label one. So you can see that regarding quality, both additive alternatives gave similar results. And it is also interesting to see that quality after 12 months regarding color, odor, and taste also was comparable between the standard wine and the new wine that was developed mixing sulfite, a reduced amount of sulfite, and glutathione. So you can see that there is work going on trying to find solutions that, in combination with HPP, provide an alternative to this chemical preservation of wine. Okay. So this was all from a microbial control and quality perspective. But as I introduced earlier, yeah, HPP can be used to accelerate aging and mashing of wine and beer, for instance. In the case of wine, HPP provides the activation energy to initiate some aging reactions. By this, I mean phenolic condensation, Maillard reactions, formation of esters, and some oxidations. Um, this means that HPP can be considered to prevent some of the issues related to barrel aging, and some types of wine that are slow aging, while HPP can promote this process. So this is something that can be considered. Regarding beer, the application is different. In this case, the applying HPP to to barley starch, we can make digestion of this starch easier by enzymes such as amylases. Since we avoid boiling to create this starch gel, we use HPP to that. This cold process creates new flavor profiles and makes also digestion quicker. Okay, because instead of boiling for several minutes or even hours to modify starch, with HPP this is very quick, and the starch is very easily digested by enzymes. So this is not commercial yet, but it is reported in the literature, and it's a nice strategy that could be implemented. So considerations for commercial application. Well, I think it is important to mention that HPP is approved as a suitable oenological practice by the International Organization of Vine and Wine for these three main purposes: to reduce the microbial load of the raw materials and the final product, also to reduce the amount of sulfate used in winemaking for the same reason I explained before, and also to accelerate the maceration of red wine, because HPP can promote these chemical reactions that take place during maceration. Packaging limitations can also be overcome with new technological solutions. It is very popular of course, to find beer and wine on glass bottles or metal cans. So you have to know that there are alternatives to overcome this. Um, Beer, for instance, can be processed on plastic kegs, which is very convenient for distribution or even exportation of this product. And the in-bulk HPP technology is also a solution, because we would process the product in bulk, and after processing, we would be able to fill any type of packaging, and glass bottles or cans are also an option. So all these benefits that HPP provide to fermented beverages such as beer and wine, um, we have solutions actually to overcome the typical limitations of impact HPP. Now I would like to move to some innovation and commercial applications in this sector. As I said, we have no many examples, but this one I think worth mention. Okay, so you can see this product is actually commercialized in the United States, and is composed of two different things. The upper part of this bottle you see here contains actually a liquor, which remains separated from the bottom part of the bottle. Okay, as I said, the liquors are already stable, so we don't really need HPP or any other process to make them stable. On the other hand, as you can see, the bottom part of the bottle contains fresh fruit juice. And this fruit juice is actually high pressure processed. So this company applies HPP to the bottom part of the bottles. Okay. So once the bottom part is processed to preserve the quality of the juice, both parts of the bottle are attached, as you can see on the right side of the screen. And this is the thing that the final consumer would purchase. And because of the design of this bottle, the final consumer only needs to twist the bottle, so the contents of the upper part and the bottom part are mixed. Okay, and this creates a nice cocktail that consumers can enjoy with the benefits of fresh juice. I would also like to mention that there is a commercial patent. This is not a commercial product, but the process is patented. So yeah, the company that owns the rights can benefit from this patent, and maybe someday they develop a product following the process that I show here. So this process starts blending fresh fruit juice and alcohol. The blend is mixed. The blend is then bottled. Bottles are labeled, and bottles are high pressure processed. Then the product can be distributed as usual. So the patent claims that combining fresh fruit juice with HPP and alcohol is a new method to ensure food safety and extend the shelf life of beverages. You can see that they consider the use of natural beverages and alcohol content ranging 2 to 20%, standard HPP conditions, okay, and also acidic pH. So this is, you can see there is still room for innovation in this sector using HPP technology. And to conclude my presentation, as I said before, I would like to present some preliminary results from a research project that we conducted at Hyperbaric with craft beer. This slide here tries to summarize the experimental setup. We worked with two types of beer, an Indian Pale Ale style beer with a low alcohol content, around 4.5. And we also worked with an alcohol-free beer. For us, those beers represent a real challenge because the low alcohol content um, makes sometimes easier for microorganisms to grow in the product. So we really wanted to see how HPP can protect from spoilage this type of low alcoholic beers. So in the study, we had a set of samples that were not processed, and we had a set of samples that were processed by HPP at 6,000 bar, 87,000 psi for 3 minutes. And this was applied to both types of beer. And again, for each set of samples, we wanted to evaluate how storage temperature affects the quality of beer. So one set of samples was kept under refrigeration, and another set of samples was kept at room temperature. We also checked the shelf life of this beer for 90 days of storage. It is also nice to mention that we wanted to really see the commercial application of this. So beer was processed on plastic kegs provided by Pitainer. As you know, they supply plastic kegs that are suitable for HPP. So we used actually 20-liter kegs, and every analysis was done in triplicate, okay, just to consider some variability. For the physicochemical characterization, we assessed the pH, bitterness, color, turbidity, and the extracts. And on the other side, we also followed the microbial quality based on total aerobes, lactic acid bacteria, and molds and yeasts. Yeah, here you can see how this trial was conducted. You can see that the kegs can be easily placed on a commercial HPP unit. Yeah, you can see some of my colleagues, and even you can see me taking samples of beer for the study. And yeah, some colleagues also doing a tasting session. Okay, so yeah, I will try to summarize the results because this is very basic research, and research is still ongoing, and we will try to publish this. So yeah, just to so the food industry knows the benefits that HPP can provide to beer. So regarding pH, you can see it remains stable during storage, and same thing goes for alcohol content, except for beers that were not processed and stored at room temperature. You can see for those beers that alcohol content increases, and this is of course a consequence of microbial growth. Some yeasts were growing, were still fermenting some of the sugars in beer, and were producing alcohol. So these first results show that HPP can stabilize beer, and even when the product is stored at room temperature, alcohol content is not increasing. For bitterness, well, we saw no effects of HPP, but we saw a clear effect of a storage temperature. Beer samples stored at room temperature had slight decrease on bitterness, and you can even see that high pressure processed beer had a more stable bitterness compared to the unprocessed controls. Regarding color, you can see that the Indian Pale Ale beer was very stable, and the alcohol-free beer was also stable, but again, samples stored at room temperature had more visual changes. For turbidity, again, we saw no effects of HPP, but we saw clear effects of storage temperature. Samples, this is funny because Indian Pale Ale beers stored at room temperature had an increased turbidity, but alcohol-free beers stored under refrigeration had this turbidity increase. So here we also see an effect of the type of beer regarding turbidity. And yeah, you can also see the real extract, um, which actually decreases in samples, in unprocessed samples stored at room temperature. And this is, of course, related to the fermentation of these samples that are not stabilized. So the content of sugars is decreasing in the control beers stored at room temperature, and somehow this explains the changes in real extract. Otherwise, you can see that things remained very stable and comparable. Regarding microbial quality, here you see the counts of total aerobes. You can actually see how HPP is efficient controlling not only total aerobes, but lactic acid bacteria, as you can see in the slide. So all samples that are high pressure processed displayed non-detectable counts or much lower counts compared to the control beers. And for malts and yeasts, we actually see the same trend. They were actually not detected on the Indian Pale Ale beer, but the control beers displayed higher counts. And yeah, same thing for the alcohol-free beer. You can see that microbial quality is really controlled, and HPP can create a very stable product. So to conclude, HPP has the potential to stabilize alcoholic beverages from a microbial point of view without the use of additives or thermal pasteurization. So this is good in terms of flavor retention. New potential applications of HPP include the acceleration of wine aging and the enhanced digestion of barley starch, reducing the boiling of the must, okay, which is good from an energy point of view. HPP maintains the quality attributes of craft beer stored under refrigeration. And HPP can also inactivate microorganisms in craft beer when samples are stored not only under refrigeration but also under room temperature abuse. So HPP emerges again as an alternative to thermal pasteurization for this delicate type of products. Okay, so this was all from my side. Of course, if you have questions related to the application of HPP technology on this type of products, you can contact me or my colleagues, and we will be happy to assist and run trials with your product, because we have two HPP incubators, one in Spain and one in the United States. So you are very welcome to come here, visit us, and process your products at no cost. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed, and please keep watching the next sessions of the HPP Innovation Week. Bye bye.